You open your eyes. No vibrations, no agenda, no glowing screen demanding attention, only silence, only yourself. The stillness feels unfamiliar, almost unsettling. Then it creeps in, that subtle unease, the weight in your chest, the hollow pang. Not for companionship, but for validation, proof you're significant to someone. This is when most men flee. They grab their phones, they message the wrong person, they drown in endless scrolling, desperate for a sense of belonging. Because society conditioned you to believe silence equals failure. That if no texts come through, if no one checks on you, you're falling short, unwanted, inadequate. But what if the quiet isn't condemnation? What if it's an invitation? One most men refuse to accept. The world taught you solitude is terrifying. But no one mentioned what awaits when you surrender to it, when you stop fleeing the noise and let the silence speak. Here's the reality. The man who owns his solitude, who stands alone deliberately, isn't fragile. He's formidable. Because he's crafting something invisible, something unbreakable within. This isn't for everyone. It's for the man exhausted from being an afterthought, done begging for approval, sick of contorting himself to fit spaces too small for his growth. It's for the man ready to stop fleeing and start flourishing. In an era of endless chatter and thirst for attention, the man who embraces stillness stands out. This isn't withdrawal, it's revival. You're not retreating from life, you're reclaiming yourself. Too many men wander between lovers, careers, hollow connections, chasing validation like it's air. But when do you pause and wonder, what if I stay? What if I face myself? The answer: evolution. Clarity sharpens, conviction solidifies, your boundaries elevate. And the irony? The second you stop demanding others recognize your value, they finally do. Before we go deeper, declare this in the comments. I choose solitude to build my strength, not for applause, but because you're finished pretending, because you're done chasing and ready to transform. This is your declaration. Write it, mean it. Let's move. 1. The terror of quiet. You're in the darkness. No exits, no pings, no obligations, just your breathing and the weight beneath it. Your mind. Most men don't fear being alone. They fear what they'll meet there. The power of silence and self-confrontation. Not the lack of company, but the unveiling of what's real. Silence isn't hollow. It's revealing. It doesn't shout. It doesn't judge. It simply unlocks the door to the regrets you tucked away, the decisions you delayed, the person you swore you'd be but never became. And there they are, all at once, unasked for, raw. The dreams you abandoned, the chances you didn't take, the vows you broke when no one was there to witness. You try to turn away, but there's nowhere left to hide. No small talk to lose yourself in, no love to lose yourself in, no role to play. Just you and the truth you've dodged for so long. And now, the unavoidable choice. Will you meet it head on, or will you flee once more? This is why so many keep running, switching lovers, chasing new ambitions, losing themselves in distractions, not to create, but to evade. Not others, but themselves, because silence tears off the disguise. And when it does, you either break or rise. At first, silence is merciless. It tightens your chest. It amplifies every doubt louder than any critic. You're inadequate. You'll fade into obscurity. Nothing you do truly lasts. But if you endure it, if you let the storm rage without fleeing, something changes. You notice you're still standing, still alive, still able. And those thoughts, they aren't you. They're relics, old recordings. They call, but you don't have to answer. Then comes understanding. Not with fanfare, but with quiet certainty. You are not your mistakes, not the love you lost, not the stumble you took. You are the one who remained, the one who didn't look away, who faced the flames and held his ground. That's rare, that's strength, that's true resilience. Transformation doesn't start with weights, with pages, with videos or quotes. It starts in the quiet. It starts when you choose to meet yourself. You sit in the chaos, let it howl, let it unravel every lie, and you stay. You don't rush to fill the emptiness, you let it be. And in that surrender, you grasp what few ever do, mastery over your own mind. From that stillness, a new voice emerges, not booming, but firm, not flawless, but honest. And when you step forward again, you move with purpose. Your words carry weight. Your presence holds gravity, not because you've conquered the world, but because you've come back to who you are. Here's what matters. The world doesn't need more men who disappear into the crowd. It needs men who can sit alone and stand up with vision. Because that man, he doesn't chase. He doesn't perform. He doesn't plead for validation. He becomes undeniable because his energy doesn't plead, it commands. 2. Detoxing from approval. Most men are hooked on an invisible drug, not substances, not adrenaline, but approval. They grab their phone at dawn, not for news, but for reassurance. Did she text? Did my post get likes? Did I matter to anyone today? It feels innocent, but it's poison. Neediness masked as connection. Addiction dressed up as habit. The danger? No one sounds the alarm. No clinics, no warnings. Yet it corrodes you, not just your actions, but yourself. Chasing approval makes you smaller. You agree when you resent. You grin when you're numb. You dodge truth, avoid solitude, cling to crowds, all to escape the sting of rejection. You call it survival, but it's surrender. You swap your truth for ease, your fire for nods, your sovereignty for a seat at the table, and one day you wake up caged. The walls are papered with praise, but you're frozen, a puppet of others' expectations, not the man you were meant to be. Here's the trap. Approval is a sugar rush. It spikes, then crashes. And like any fix, it demands more. More applause, more proof, more performance. You don't break from lack of strength. You break because faking is exhausting. Masks weigh more than you think. But there's a way out, harder but solid. It starts with withdrawal, an approval cleanse. You leave your phone untouched. You stop molding your words to fit the room. You confront the brutal question, is this me or just my hunger to be liked? That question cracks the facade. You stop trading your no for cheap yeses. You stop shrinking your standards to fit small minds. The strength in silence and self-assurance. You stop justifying yourself to those who never truly heard you. At first, it feels like stepping into the unknown. The quiet unsettles you, the space feels vast, and the old fears whisper, what if they turn away? But you stay. You let the unease shape you. And gradually, a deeper voice emerges, not forceful, not seeking applause, but unwavering. Your own. The voice hidden beneath years of pretending. It speaks not for validation, but because silence is no longer an option. Then the transformation begins. You no longer reach out just to stay on their radar. You no longer force smiles. You start prioritizing your time, your authenticity, your calm. People take notice. There's a gravity to you now, a quiet intensity in your gaze. You aren't begging for the spotlight. You command it effortlessly. That's the irony. When you stop straining to be noticed, you become unforgettable. Men who seek approval fade into the crowd, but men who stand firm in who they are, they stand apart. Not by shouting, but by conviction. You know your values, you know your boundaries, and most importantly, you know yourself when no eyes are on you. That's the man who leaves a mark, not because he demanded attention, but because he didn't need it. Detaching from the need for approval isn't clean. It means losing hollow connections, polite but meaningless exchanges, fleeting praise. But what you gain is real. Respect that isn't begged for but earned. Peace that comes from standing your ground, not hiding from conflict. Power rooted not in dominance, but in self-awareness. So ask yourself, are you still molding yourself to fit others' expectations? Still twisting to keep them comfortable? Or are you ready to choose you? Because once you do, truly do, everything changes. The chasing ends, the explanations stop, the performance is over, you just are, and the world can't help but take notice. Clarity through solitude. There comes a point when the distractions fall away, and what remains is quiet, not hollow, not forced, just still. And in that stillness, something shifts. The haze clears, not because the world has changed, but because you've stepped back from it. You've muted the noise, the demands, the judgments, the endless chatter, and finally, you hear what's been there all along, yourself. Solitude isn't loneliness, it's rebirth. It's stripping away all that isn't you, so only what's real remains. In the chaos you react, you rush, you lose yourself in the current, but in silence you return. You remember who you are when no one's shaping you, and that's where true strength begins. You bend, you blend, you play the part, constantly measuring yourself against borrowed yardsticks. But in solitude the frenzy fades. You learn to pause instead of pounce, to witness rather than react. You become aware of what you've allowed to occupy your mind, your hours, your essence. A revelation strikes. So much of your mental landscape was never yours to begin with. The ambitions, borrowed. The lifestyle, adopted. Even your definition of success, inherited. You've been sprinting toward a finish line someone else drew. Yet when you step back, when the notifications cease, when the calendar clears, when the world's chatter fades, something unexpected emerges. Vision. New questions arise, deeper ones. Not what will people think, but what actually lights me up. Not how can I please, but what truly drains me. Who do I become in different company, and do I respect that version of myself? Solitude grants you the courage to sit with these questions. No distractions, no deadlines, no need for applause. You let the silence speak. You excavate buried truths. You breathe into the unease. Gradually, the fog lifts. The pretending stops. No more nodding along to what grates your soul. No more sustaining connections that leave you emptier. No more self-betrayal for the sake of comfort. Instead, you begin living in alignment. Not flawless, but authentic. Not curated, but true. No leaves your lips without apology. Space isn't coldness, it's discernment. Goodbyes aren't bitter, they're breakthroughs. Solitude does more than declutter your mind, it hones your perception. You stop drifting through days and start directing them. Your habits serve your purpose. Your tribe mirrors your truth. Your life becomes your truth. Your surroundings begin to reflect who you are, not who you pretended to be. And then comes another shift. You stop justifying your decisions to those who were never meant to grasp them. No debates, no defenses. You just live, and your existence becomes its own testimony. That's when you know you've outgrown drama. Manipulation can't touch you. Superficial chatter no longer sways you. You're anchored, and that foundation makes you unshakable. People may challenge you, misinterpret you, even leave. Yet you stand firm, because your life isn't for their approval anymore. It's in harmony with the man you were always meant to be. This is the true power of solitude. It incinerates distractions. It silences the noise. It destroys every false version of you that never belonged. What remains? A man with quiet certainty in his heart and direction in his step. He doesn't talk for applause. He speaks when his words carry weight. He doesn't chase, he creates. And he no longer craves being understood because he knows himself. So if your world feels too quiet right now, don't fear the stillness. That silence isn't absence. It's the space where your real self finally breathes. This is your calling. Your life whispering for you to pause and truly listen. You don't need more external validation. Not likes, not replies, not fleeting attention or empty noise. What you crave is depth, stillness, solitude. Those raw moments alone where you finally confront the man you've neglected, yourself. The man who walks alone isn't shattered. He's sculpting, not fleeing the world, but reclaiming his core, refining, honing, incinerating all that was never his to carry. His stride doesn't beg to be chosen. It declares, "I've already chosen me." And when you embody this, life rearranges itself. The right people root, the wrong ones dissolve. Opportunities no longer demand pursuit, they gravitate. This isn't luck, it's sovereignty. If this silence stirs something primal in you, don't just scroll past. Comment below, what's one distraction you're releasing today? Then hit like, not for entertainment, but because this ignited you. Subscribe if you're done chasing clout and ready to forge real power, clarity, discipline, unshakable presence. At the masculine Stoic mind, we don't beg for approval. We build men who lead from within.